Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video. It's the beginning of the month. It's time to try and climb to legend, climb those ranks. And as usual, as always, we're going to give our tier list for both standard and wild of the best decks to possibly climb. We rank them on tier 1, 2, and 3 decks per tier, and just, yeah, give you a good idea of what the best decks are to try and climb that ladder. You can basically realistically expect to climb decent ranks with any of these decks, but the tier 1 decks are the absolute powerhouses that are doing the best, and, you know, tier 3, we leave off with a bit more of the niche stuff, maybe a bit more fun, or, you know, more just aggressive. Who knows? You'll have to wait and see, but yeah, make sure you hit that sub button for tomorrow, because today we're covering standard, so if you want those wild decks, get notified of that. Make sure to hit the sub button for the wild decks tomorrow, and just thank you everybody. We're still around 64% of my viewers are not yet subscribed, and we're closing in on 9,000, and which will mean soon 10,000, so if you haven't subbed yet, I would really appreciate it. We keep climbing. It's been awesome and amazing, and I can't wait to see how far we can grow this channel, but we can only do it with the continued support that you guys keep showing, so if you hit that button, that'd be awesome. Anyways, enough of the shilling, enough of the selling. Let's take a look at the 9 best standard decks in the meta as of right now, and it's important to note before getting into this that there were recent nerfs to Guardian Animals and to Tutorial Pilgrim in Mage, so these decks, particularly Spell Druid and Turtle Mage, are not on the list, although Druid is showing signs of being relatively strong, but I don't feel comfortable listing it as one of the reliable decks to climb until we see a bit more numbers, because if you look on HS Replay, the numbers on Druid are not fantastic, so keep that in mind. And yeah, Turtle Mage doesn't exist anymore, so it's not going to be on here at all. Anyways, let's get going with the tier 1 decks. So starting out at number 1, the best deck, at least I believe to be in the meta right now, is the deck that I've been jamming a lot, and it's really weird, but this is one of the most popular decks on ladder, and it's Soul Demon Hunter. One of its worst matchups got kind of nullified, at least for now, in Druid. Today I was playing ladder, and I faced a decent amount of Druid, but it just felt a lot slower, and I went like 5-1 against it. Like, I did pretty well, because Guardian Animals doesn't typically come out till a little bit later, and as Demon Hunter, you get more time to develop and all that. And yeah, its matchup spread is really good against all the aggression, all the aggro decks like Face Hunter, Rogue. It does very well against Mage. It does well unless you get scammed by like Apprentice stuff. It just struggles a bit against, like, there's a Control Warrior deck going around that's very popular to counter. It feels like the meta is starting to come around to counter Soul Demon Hunter, which is usually an indication that the deck is one of the best in the meta, and I just feel with its relatively powerful spread, it's just a really surefire way of going. And yeah, its strategy is built around the Soul Fragments, shuffling them in your deck. You have clears and like Shard Shatter Mystic. You have Lapidary to push damage, Marrow Slicer, you draw with your Skull of Gul'dan. You have Sociologist Alicia to, you know, get a big bomb of stats on the board. And yeah, you just burn your opponent out. It's a very effective deck, and it's doing very well across all ranks, and is definitely a safe bet if you want to try and climb the ladder. The list I have here is my list that I've been running. It's doing very well. No Magtheridon, since I haven't really seen Druid around. And yeah, the worst matchups, again, like Warrior, like the Control Warriors that run like Bulwark and Armor Gain, almost impossible to beat. And Libroom Paladin can be very tough, so if you want to tech in like a Silence for that, it can be effective, but overall I've been about 50% against Paladin, so not too bad. Number 2, we have small spell mage, tempo mage, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it bullshit mage, where you just spam a bunch of random crap and you win the game. And turns out random crap is really good in Hearthstone. So, you know, you have your spell damage stuff, whether it's the Primordial Studies and Cram Session. You have the Solarian Prime, all that insanity. You can get multiple of them. And of course, you have Sorcerer's Apprentice and Mana Cyclone, generate a bunch of random spells and a bunch of value, and just win that way. Of course, you can have bombs in like Jandis, Roz Frost Whisper, Mana Giants to slam down for 0 mana, Conjurers calling on those. Deck is very effective, very popular, and yeah, these are definitely have been the most 2 common decks I've seen on ladder since the nerfs, is random bullshit mage, if you want to, you know, whatever, and Soul Fragment Demon Hunter. The decks are very powerful, very good, and you certainly cannot go wrong playing some mage, and it's just Yeah, its weaknesses are more of the aggression, like Face Hunter can do a good job. It's also weak into Demon Hunter, but certainly fares its own. Like, today, I went negative against Mage, because, well, it turns out if they just keep scamming you, they can keep winning. So it's definitely winnable. It can beat, realistically, can beat anything. But, yeah, it does struggle against aggression, against direct face damage, and Bomb Warrior as well, which, let's lead right into that. Number 3 on the Tier 3 list is Bomb Warrior. I still feel this is a very powerful deck. It does very well against everything that's basically non-aggressive, and it can beat the aggressive decks. But you know, it's built around your Corsair Cache, your Ridge Caliber. You shuffle in a bunch of bombs in your opponent's deck. You have Blastmaster Boom for a giant bomb damage or minion stats, all that plus damage, and you know, you just do that. That's what the deck does. It clears the board with brawls and blade storms. You have sword and board for some removal and armor gain, and you have just a good all-round removal armor package, and it does some good stuff. And you can throw in Galakron and Krunk. Some people do that. Some people run the risky Skipper and Armorsmith package to help against decks, aggression, Demon Hunter, all that. So deck's very powerful, very good. It's been on my top list for a while, and it just hasn't really lost a spot there. It did lose Druid for a good matchup, so it's down a little bit. I think I've had this rated pretty much at the top, so it's fallen a little bit, but still an incredibly powerful deck. And next, we'll take a look at the Tier 2 decks. These are all very good, but not quite as good as the Tier 1, but you can realistically do very well with any of them. At number 1 on Tier 2, we have Face Hunter. Face Hunter is done very well across all ranks, just incredibly powerful, even like high legend performances. People qualified for like Masters Tour events with it. Like, it just goes face. I mean, you play early game and you go face. You try and, you know, you can control the board if you have to, but you can cheat out Secrets Face Stalker, you have your Warple Tinger, you can buff it with your Tutor Spell, all that stuff. You have Lore Keeper to make sure you draw Dragon's Bane, your kill commands, and it's just a very aggressive, powerful deck. And when the meta is lacking a lot of healing and a lot of armor gain, for the most part, it does very well. It just struggles against, like, Soul Demon Hunter is one of its worst matchups, because, well, it just gets AoE'd and they heal up, and it can be rough, but it can win. It's just unlikely. But it punishes basically any of the, like, the slower decks, the greedy decks, like Mage does a very good job. And the games are quick, fast, and furious. So if you're looking for that fast climb, and, you know, you lose a game, but you lose it quickly. You win a game, you win it quickly. Face Hunter can definitely do the trick. Next, we have Weapon Rogue, the aggressive rogue variation. It's built around the stealth package, and then, of course, you have your, like, self-sharpening sword, deadly poison. You have the 4-drop that summons another, like, a random minion based on your health, and all that stuff. And of course, Secret Passage. And yeah, this deck is another very aggressive base deck. Can help punish things like Mage and Bomb Warrior, just because you're building a giant weapon and hitting him in the face, and you can, you know, cheat out a giant Edwin, cheese matchups like that. And it has Insane Cycle with Secret Passage, cutting class. And the deck just does very well. Quick games, very powerful, and certainly is a good choice if you want to climb the ladder. And last on the Tier 2 list, we have Libroom Paladin. Libroom Paladin has definitely turned a corner and is now not really pure anymore. It's very rare that you run into the pure Paladin archetype, because the Libroom version is just so much better. It's built around, you know, you have the broom, you have Pinflinger, and you just go, like, get so much damage in with your 0-mana Librooms. And of course, you know, you have the Libroom package with Libroom of Wisdom, Libroom of Hope. You have the Divine Shield Sunwalker Power Creep card. Don't remember the name, Devout Pupil, I think. And yeah, the deck is just done incredibly well. And it's very good right now in the meta, where I said Soul Demon Hunter is one of the most popular decks right now. Well, it really hard counters Soul Demon Hunter, but it struggles immensely against Mage. So it's kind of in that Tier 2 for that reason. It's a really good counter to a lot of decks. It can do well against Face Hunter because you have healing and taunt. But yeah, you queue into that Mage and you can get just absolutely blown out. So take that, you know, take that warning. It can be a bit of a challenge, but overall the deck is very powerful and can do a lot of stuff. And you can say, hey, loser, like 1,000 times to your opponent, spamming those pen flingers. Lastly, we'll take a look at the Tier 3 decks. These are kind of more out there, not as prominent as the Tier 1 and Tier 2 decks, but I like to highlight a couple of decks that have popped up a little bit lately. So I mentioned it earlier, but yeah, Control Warrior seems to be making a bit of a comeback. Even Archivist Elysiana is seeing a comeback, which is crazy. But yeah, the deck is built basically around like hard countering decks like Soul Demon Hunter or Face Hunter, where you have like Armor Game with Skipper Armorsmith. You have Bulwark, so you just don't take damage. And you have Deathwing, you have all your removal, and you just remove everything. You gain armor. You don't really try and even kill your opponent. You just kill them through boredom, through pure Control Warrior means. But you're going to struggle against any deck that generates, like, infinite value. So, like, Mage can outvalue you. Priest can be an absolute nightmare, all that. But Priest has totally fallen off. Rarely see Priest, that's why I'm not mentioning it on this list, although Priest is viable. But yeah, like, it can struggle against that. But if you want to counter those aggressive decks, or just, remove literally everything, Control Warrior can definitely get you there. Next is a deck that would do really well against Control Warrior, and that's Galakron Rogue. Galakron Rogue has actually made a bit of a comeback lately. I've seen a lot of prominent streamers playing it. I saw it on Ladder a couple of times today, and one of the main things that have, like, pushed it a little bit over the top, it's relatively just Galakron Rogue, but you have Lorekeeper Polkelt, so you draw your Galakrond into Kronks, into your shield of Galakronds, and that can be very powerful. Like, guaranteeing those good hits after you Galakrond is a very powerful thing, and the deck has done some work, but can definitely struggle against decks like Mage and Demon Hunter, all that stuff. But it's having some success. It's a bit of a new take on an old classic, so if you want to whip out your Galakron Rogue, because a lot of you probably have a lot of those old cards, just throw Lorekeeper Polkelt, which is an amazing card. You can feel safe crafting that, and give it a go. You might have some success. And lastly, another old classic, but it's got a new twist as well, and that's Highlander Face Hunter. Yes, Highlander Face Hunter. It's not really built like the old Highlander Hunter, where you have, like, Dragon Queen, Nagrid Slam, like Varanus, like all the value bumps. No, it's all just freaking let's go face. All the early game, you cap out at Bran, and you have Polkelt to draw your Bran and all that, and the deck is done well. I don't think it's as good as Face Hunter, it's less consistent, but the high roll, if you get it, into your Zephyrus, into your Bran, can be incredibly powerful. And, the deck is fast, furious, and aggressive, and, that's a good way to climb to Legend Ladder, or whatever rank you're looking for, so that's it. That's my pick for the tier list for Standard for October. Let me know in the comments below what decks have been working for you, which of these haven't been working for you, all of that. You can always disagree, agree with my rankings. It's all subjective, but this is just from what I've seen personally. And yeah, hopefully these decks help you out on your month's climb. Make sure to tune in for the wild one tomorrow. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.